The following is an exclusive presentation of Raycom Sports and Lincoln Financial Sports.
Today is a special day at the Dean Smith Center. The Dean Dome should be rocking. Fans will be treated to a look back at the storied history of college basketball here on Tobacco Road. And it's back to the future, because today the Tar Heels host the Wake Forest Demon Deacons in a conference matchup on this pivotal weekend of Atlantic Coast Conference action. We are in Chapel Hill, North Carolina for this ACC Saturday as we steamroll toward tournament time. Every game now critical. Wake Forest comes calling on the Tar Heels of North Carolina. This is doubleheader Saturday. Then we'll take you to either NC State and Miami or that backyard brawl between Virginia and Virginia Tech. And hi, everybody. I'm Tim Brandt along with Mike Chemiskey. Glad to have you along for what should be a terrific ball game, terrific afternoon of ACC basketball. And Mike, I mean, when you look at the top of the ACC standings, a little bit of a surprise and a log jam in the middle.
Well, it is. I mean, you look at it, the big game for North Carolina, in that they've got to keep pace with Boston College and Virginia, and kind of a lull game with Wake Forest in between Duke and a big home game against Virginia Tech next week.
Every game now becomes critical as we get toward ACC tournament time. Here this afternoon in the Dean Dome, it is a huge afternoon. Wake Forest at North Carolina.
ACC basketball is being brought to you by Pepsi, by Alltel, by Food Lion, by Geico, by Ford, by Chick-fil-A, by Advance Auto Parts, and by Bud Light.
Members of Carolina's 1957 and 1982 NCAA championship teams are here today, including number 23, Michael Jordan, in the Dean E. Smith Center. Take a look at our 4 keys to the game, Mike.
Well, for Wake Forest, Tim, they've just got to initiate their offense. Carolina is such a good at denying wings. And then for North Carolina, avoid the hangovers. Such an emotionally draining game playing at Cameron Indoor Stadium. They've got to come back focused.
Visser with the turnaround is short. Carolina 21-3, Wake Forest just 11-12. And a nice skip pass into Hansbrough, and he's fouled.
You see that initiate the offense and then avoid the hangover, and North Carolina getting out and running. I'm sure that Roy Williams will have his team focused. But one of the things, too, for Wake Forest, Tim, transition defense, and we saw it right there trying to get back, and I'm sure that North Carolina is going to try to throw a knockout punch early in this game.
Tyler Hansbrough, a 76% free throw shooter, went 6 for 6 at the line in the second half against Duke the other night, and he keeps that streak going.
Well, and he gets to the line more than any player in the ACC, and deservedly so. Really attacks the rim and compels the referees to make that call inside.
And it's 2-0 Carolina. The officials today: Les Jones, Roger Ayers, Bernard Clinton. Glad to have you along, everybody, down Tobacco Road. Tim Brandt, Mike Chemiskey with you at the Dean Dome. Ish Smith kicks it out to Hale. Smith is quick, but sometimes very inconsistent. Man-to-man defense by Carolina. Hale has a shot clock down to 10. Smith's going to have to go with it. 5 on the shot clock. Smith turns it over. Pushed off, foul. Here's a look at our Food Line starting lineups. Hale, Smith, Skeen, Williams, and Visser, who threw up an air ball on his first shot. Ellington, Lawson, Terry, Wright, and Hansbrough. Hansbrough hit the 2 free throws, and that's where we are 2-zip.
And I think it's the first time that Carolina's been introduced in this building in complete anonymity, because Michael Jordan was walking to his seat while that was happening, and every eye in the place was looking at him.
Lawson with the offensive foul. Skip Prosser is in his 6th season at Wake Forest. I'm not sure any have been as trying as this year. His first 4 teams all won at least 21 games, now rebuilding with a very, very young team and having to teach an awful lot of basketball this year.
Last year, keep in mind, too, they were 3-13 in conference, so it didn't end well for them. It's the season that they started in the top 25.
Smith, nice pass to Visser, but he couldn't finish. Hale, jumper. Wake ice cold to start the game. And the foul, I believe that will be on Rayshon Terry. Roy Williams has won 20 or more games in 17 of his 19 years as a head coach. Very successful.
No, just incredible consistency at Kansas and here at North Carolina. Already a national championship here, and a lot of people think that this team has a great chance to be in Atlanta in the Final Four.
Jamie Skeen makes the first. He's a 66% free throw shooter, has now hit 40 of his 58 free throws this year. Just a freshman out of Charlotte, North Carolina. A nice-looking player.
Yeah, and he's got the ability to hit the three, which is unusual for a power forward, but he can spread the defense a little bit. But I think in that possession, Roy Williams unhappy with the multiple offensive rebounds. They got out-rebounded at North Carolina State, and that was a big part of that loss. Very quick move by Lawson, but he couldn't finish.
Smith is quicker than everybody. Nice pass, right side, and they can't put it down. Wow.
You've got it. Harvey Hale is a big part of this team, and when he has big nights, it's easier to score. You cannot miss layups.
Off at the three. Ty Lawson makes it a 5-2 game, and good officiating here. A lot of bumping and grinding between the big guys, so they say, settle down, fellas.
Yeah, I like
Let's play
that.
A clean game.
You know, I like the referees who act as the beat cop in the old days in the neighborhoods. You can clean up a lot of things before any kind of conflict ever arises. Les Jones doing a nice job there.
Look at it. Watch this now. Still locked arms and still going after each other, and they say, all right, cut it out, fellas. Hale's a little frustrated after missing that layup on the last possession. Smith looks up, sees 10 on the shot clock, and calls out the play. To Visser. Bang. That's a 2-ball.
At the end of the shot clock, Wake Forest will run that high screen roll with Visser pulling out, and he's added that part of his game. He can knock down that shot, although I think that one might be a little bit out of his range.
1-point game. They're watching Ellington with that right arm. He's pushed off. They've called 2 offensive fouls already in this game. Nice move by Terry. Lost the ball on the way up. And powers his way to the bucket.
Good second effort that time by Terry after a nice drive.
Wake Forest needs some early success to build some confidence. It's a team that really has struggled at times. Just 2 of 8 in the conference. Went down to Tallahassee, had Florida State on the ropes and just couldn't close the deal. Third offensive of the game.
Tony Douglas in that game you mentioned took over in the last 5 minutes to give Florida State a win.
Foul is on Harvey Hale, and that's 2 quick ones on him, and Skip Prosser not happy. Trying to make his point. But he's going to have to make a substitution. And he gets Michael Drum off the bench.
Drum had a nice game against Maryland at home, starting to play with a little more confidence. Had a stretch of the season where he wasn't that sure of himself out on the floor, but the senior playing better of late.
Harvey Hale 0 for 2 from the field, 2 personal fouls, and he sits down. Little jump hook. Skeen, big rebound, and gets it out to Smith.
The time Drum waited a little too late. Visser was wide open in the post, and by the time he delivered, the defense able to collapse inside, but fortunately for Visser, he gets a foul.
Foul on Deion Thompson, his first. John Madry keeping the numbers for us here at the table, and the Carolinian tells us this is one of the hardest tickets they've ever had in this building. You've got a big day here honoring the 1957 title team and the 1982 team, and anytime Michael Jordan and Worthy and those guys are in the house, you know folks want to come.
Lenny Rosenbluth from the 57 team. Good
National Player of the Year.
Yep. Really, we listened to him talk beforehand, talked about starting the tradition here in North Carolina.
Outside of Billy Packer, I guess Lenny was the best player ever with, according to Billy. I mean in that era here in Carolina, certainly. pass ahead to Williams.
Well, you talked about the start, and this is the one Wake Forest is looking for, getting to that first TV timeout in good shape. And right now it's turnovers that have hurt North Carolina. Wake doing a nice job defensively. Wake Forest doing a nice job getting inside, fronting the post.
Good defense. Double down on Thompson. And the foul. 15-12 to play in the first half. It's a one-point ball game here in the Dean Dome. Wednesday night, Carolina-Duke, always special. Speedy guard Ty Lawson came up big time after intermission. He had 11 points, 3 assists in the final 20 minutes against Duke. Ended with 15 points. And, of course, UNC beat Duke 79-73.
You know, it's not easy to play in the first game of that series, especially away. And I thought Lawson and Brandon Wright were spectacular for a first-time thing over in Cameron Indoor Stadium. They really handled that environment well.
You were telling me Billy Packer took Wake to the Final Four way after Lenny Rosenbluth here at Carolina.
That was in the early 60s, 62, I believe. Lenny Chappell on that team.
Yeah, Lenny Chappell.
Billy?
Lenny Rosenbluth here in 57 when they went 32-0.
Get out, get out, get out.
Shot clock at 15.
Wake's not going to be in any big hurry today. They want to milk some, run some clock, make sure they get a good shot, though, but they prefer to see this game in the 70s.
Frazier, nice pass underneath. Danny Green will go to the line to shoot 2. Drum picks up his first personal.
Danny Green to the line.
Danny Green is a 6'5", 210-pound sophomore from North Babylon, New York. 6 points, 3 rebounds. Makes the first. Marcus Ginyard now comes into the ball game for Carolina. Ty Lawson comes back in. Ellington goes out. Thomas goes out. Or Thompson, rather. And Green has the second one coming. So it's 9-6 Carolina.
And that was a big advantage they had over in Winston-Salem in that game, outscoring Wake Forest by 10 at the free throw line. Wake 5 of 16 in that game, which has very much been a problem for this Deacon team.
Drum to Visser. And the putback jumped off. Possession arrow belongs to Carolina.
And that's Marcus Ginyard going up against the center and getting the stuff. Great defensive help. You get the double team right there. Hansborough steps out, and that leaves Visser what he thinks is open. But great help defense on the weak side.
Ginyard 6'5", Visser 6'11". Lawson stop. Hits the iron. Drum, nice entry pass, and the offensive foul is called against Visser.
Right, you know, Les Jones, we talked about the fact he stepped in and tried to make a point with those two, but Visser getting a little too aggressive in his post-up and gets an offensive foul.
Nice pass. Hand throws.
More help that time. It was an upstream from North Carolina that Visser couldn't get through.
Smith at the other end has it knocked out of bounds. Carolina with its largest lead and 13:30 to play in the first half.
You couldn't see the screen, but Visser tried to go over the top that time, and there's just not enough time or room to make that happen. Hansborough gets an easy dunk inside.
Gurley, Drum, Visser, Smith, and Skeen on the floor now for Wake Forest. Hansborough goes out. And Wright comes in for Carolina.
A lot of early substitutions here by Roy Williams, getting people and bodies in, trying to wear Wake Forest down.
Brandon Wright had that big game against Duke the other night. 19 points. 6'9", looks bigger. Back to Skeen. Shot clock at 10. To Drum.
Tough shot attempt by Drum at the end of the clock. A lot of bodies in there.
Nice play by Smith. Smith doesn't have numbers, takes it anyway.
Yeah, that's a tough shot. You know, things aren't going well for you. There was no board coverage inside, so that's an all-or-nothing play by the freshman.
Skip Prosser wants Wake to slow it down next time they have the ball. What you were talking about, Mike, shorten the game, melt the clock a little bit. Oh, my, are you kidding me? What a great reverse by Rashawn Terry.
That's the thing, that he's so long that he can make that play, use the rim to his advantage that time, coming up underneath.
13-6. We'll return after this message from Wake Forest University.
I am proud. I'm proud.
I am proud.
I am proud to be a Wake Forest
Demon Deacon.
I am proud to be a Wake Forest Demon Deacon. Go Deacons.
I'm proud to be a Wake Forest Demon Deacon.
I'm proud to be a Wake Forest Demon Deacon.
I'm proud to be the dad of a Wake Forest Demon Deacon. Wake Forest Demon Deacon.
Demon Deacon.
Go Deeks.
Wake Forest Demon Deacon.
I'm Nathan Hatch, and I'm proud to be a Wake Forest Demon Deacon.
Well, a big day here in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. You're looking at some of the players from the championship teams, 1957 and 1982. Chick-fil-A nugget of the game during UNC's 82 run. They lost only to Wake Forest in Virginia.
And that was an unranked Wake Forest team in Carmichael.
Well, Virginia, of course, had Sampson in 82. And Wake Forest had Carl Tacey and Jim Johnstone.
Great high-low pass that time between Visser and Skeen. Talked about Skeen's ability to knock down three-pointers, but did a nice job getting free.
They needed that, too. 3 of 11 from the field. Carolina comes right back and answers at the other end.
Carolina's post players are so good at shaping up, getting position, and then making the catch and the quick move.
Skeen for 3. Wake falling behind. Here's Terry. 11:38 to play in the first half. It's 15-8 Carolina, and Michael Jordan is in the house. Wake Forest wish he was playing for them today. During that timeout, there's Lenny Rosenbluth being recognized by the sold-out crowd here. Lenny Rosenbluth, 1957 National Player of the Year, one of only 7 to have his jersey retired here at North Carolina. There it is, number 10.
And he's been back frequently, Tim. I've done a lot of games here this year, and he's been at least 5 or 6 that I've been to, so he does come back on a regular basis. But this obviously a very special day for a couple of special teams.
Brandon Wright gets the roll there. He's only a 56% free throw shooter. Put that one up there like Jello. Just let it drop through. He now has 3 points. 16-8 Carolina, and Wake Forest needs something good to happen.
Well, this is what Visser has to contend with during the course of the day, Tim. They got Stevenson in banging on him, and
got plenty of fouls to give, don't they?
Yeah, they've got plenty of fouls inside. The repost up, and Stevenson getting caught out of position a little bit on that play.
Wake Forest, though, just 3 of 13 from the field, and here they turn it over again. And Green is fouled by Drum.
And right now, fouls starting to pile up on Wake Forest, but those are absolutely the type of turnovers you cannot commit against North Carolina. Those inbound plays with the ball going back out toward half court. It's the start of a fast break that your defense can't recover to.
That's the second personal on Drum as Look at Danny Green's numbers from the last meeting.
It's funny. He and Rashawn Terry struggled in the NC State game, and Roy Williams went up to him afterwards and said, "You had one more rebound than my wife Wanda did in that game."
But he did say that Terry had 10 more than Wanda at Duke.
Yeah, he came back and he responded with a double-double.
Visser blocked away by Stevenson. Williams with the follow, and it's good. So Williams finishes, and it's an 8-point game.
Like Kyle Visser is finding tough sledding inside his second shot that he's had blocked, and I think it caused the first offensive rebound to miss because he was still hanging on the rim.
Skeen with the rebound. Now they're doubling down and tripling.
Yeah, not a good decision by Dukes. Too many white shirts around Visser.
Jermaine Dukes dribbles into trouble, kicks it out to Drum. He'll take the 3-ball and hit it. That'll help.
Yeah, they have to find points on the perimeter somewhere. With Hale's foul trouble, it's got to be Drum.
Great finish by Wright. Drum again.
And I don't right now, Wake is starting to fall into the rhythm of North Carolina's pace, and I don't know if that's a good thing.
Green will take a 3. Boy, Williams was down the other end by himself. Dukes didn't see him. And Skeen is fouled by Wright. Well, our Chevrolet Stars of the Week in conference are Jared Dudley, maybe the player of the year, having an outstanding season for Boston College. And the Rookie of the Week, Brandon Costner of NC State. For more information, log on. All the numbers are there on your computer.
Well, I think, you look at what Jared Dudley does for his team, certainly the most valuable to his team of anybody in the conference. Tyler Hansborough, Player of the Year candidate. Al Thornton down in Florida State right now. J.R. Reynolds is playing pretty well for Virginia at this point.
Visser will get a break. And 5 fresh players now in the lineup for Carolina as they move players in and out. Hansborough back in the ball game for the Tar Heels.
Harvey Hale needs to have a better second tour of duty for the Deacons right now.
Williams off balance, banks it in. And 1. Oh, they called offensive. Did they call that offensive? They did. Take another look at this. Wake Forest was gathering at the foul line.
Well, and because he initiated the contact that time, jumping into him, L.D. Williams trying to be a little. What he's trying to do is trying to get into him. There's the elbow right there, and then on the chin, actually 2 elbows. But Williams is trying to get into the chest of Rashawn Terry so he couldn't elevate.
Now they're saying the foul is on Terry, and they come back to the line. The bucket will count. Williams will be at the free throw line.
Yeah, I thought Les Jones signaled a good basket. Now there was some confusion.
That's what Roy Williams is saying to Les right now. Bottom line is Williams at the line. He's only a 51% free throw shooter. But he gets it to drop in. And it's 20-16. So that was a big swing for Wake Forest.
Wake in his zone, trying to compel North Carolina to take the perimeter shot, which they did.
Boy, Smith is quick. And for 2. Beyond the arc, that's a 3-ball.
Wake Forest very much in this game. We talk about surviving the initial punch from North Carolina. Yep.
Wake can take the lead. 3-on-1. Nice pass to Swinton. And Wake Forest leads.
Well, I talked about pace, but when you get a turnover like that, you can really push the ball to your advantage.
Thompson knocked away. Good hustle by Wake.
Stevenson trying to do too much off the dribble against the zone.
It's a 13-2 Wake Forest run. Weaver jump hook short. Back out to Miller. Hansbrough is fouled. Foul will be on Weaver. So what a turn of events here. Strong run by the Demon Deacons. 7:50 to play in the first half.
Wake Forest ahead by 1, and they've done it with defense and getting out in transition in this game. Pushing the ball up, knocking down the three-pointer there is Harvey Hale, and then getting out and run the finish at the rim, and they are playing very confidently, Tim Brand, at this point in the game, 7:50 and very much in it.
That plus the fact that you look at that run, Williams for Wake Forest has 7 points in 10 minutes. He only averages 8 points a game. Still, Wake Forest shooting only 8 of 22.
Hey.
Hansbrough ties the game. He now has 5 points in what has been a rather quiet first half for Hansbrough. And he gives Carolina the lead. Smith is hard to double. He creates numbers. Off balance, makes the jumper.
You know, when he plays under control to him, he makes very good decisions. It's tough to handle.
Good ball movement by the Tar Heels. That's the three. Ellington never even hesitated. Got it in the corner and fired it.
Well, and I talked about playing in the Duke rivalry game for the first time, and as a jump shooter, I thought Ellington was affected in that game. Only 2 of 8 from the floor, but good confidence builder for him in this game to knock down that three.
Hale for 3, not even close. Swinton underneath. Wanted a foul call, didn't get it. Skip Prosser's beside himself. Hansbrough at the other end. Is there anybody better at that down low, Mike?
No, he's using the pump fakes and creating space and using his strength to finish.
Back out to Smith.
Now, see, that's the one that he's got to stay away from in transition.
And Swinton is called for the foul. Let's take a look at our Haviland defensive shield. Tar Heel opponents the last 7 games shooting just 38.5%.
And that's an amazing statistic because of the pace of game that North Carolina plays. There are more possessions, teams get more shots against them, but to hold them to 38% is extraordinary.
See what Wake Forest is doing today. They've struggled. Meanwhile, Swinton picks up the personal. Thompson goes to the line.
And just to show you the depth, they go out to Arizona. Brandon Wright has a stomach illness, can't play. This kid stepped in, career high 14, 7 of 8 from the field.
I tell you, Mike, it's a rare miss for him at the line, too. He's a very, very strong free throw shooter. 72% for the season. Big, strong Californian, 6'8", 245 pounds. Boy, that one wasn't even close.
Take it away! 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 Take it away!
Carolina leading by 4.
Take it away! Take it away! Take it away!
Smith throws it away. Nice look ahead to Lawson.
What an incredible defensive play by Brandon Wright. The double team and then the long arms reaching back and getting the steal. Skeen had an open look if he didn't make that play.
So Carolina falls behind by 1 and then builds a 6-point lead. Hale tries to close it and does. Hale now with 5 points.
And Hale, we talked about having a better second rotation. He's done a nice job.
Boy, Skip Prosser has done such a nice job with this young ball club. Every adversity you can face, they've faced it this year. They're 11-12 on the season and 2-8 in the ACC. But the Demon Deacons still playing hard. Ellington beyond the arc. Nice pass by Lawson underneath. And Drum is called for the foul. And one.
It's so critical against this team when you make them miss. You've got to come up with that offensive or defensive rebound, and that's a nice look through a lot of bodies inside.
And Drum picks up his third, Mike. So he's got to go out, and Williams comes in.
Yeah, you like the fact with Ellington that he didn't foul. He misses the shot, stays with the play the second time around, tries to get something a little bit closer to the rim.
Ellington finishes up the three-point play, and it's a 7-point lead by the Tar Heels. Foul's going to be called on Thompson. He's riding Visser's back. That's 2 on Thompson. And Wake Forest now is shooting 1-1.
Kyle Visser, this is an area he's made a lot of improvement this year. Struggled early on in the non-conference schedule, and a little bit of an unorthodox movement at the free throw line where he steps into the shot to get himself a little bit of a rhythm rather than being static at the free throw line.
Got to give Visser a lot of credit. He hanging in there with a young team. He gets double teamed every game, beaten up, and he still plays hard.
And I don't know anybody who is as improved as much from last year as Kyle Visser. I don't think anybody expected him to give the type of production he's given Skip Prosser this year.
I agree. Ranks in the top 10 in the ACC in a bunch of categories. Hansbrough hits the jumper. Hansbrough now in double figures. He's got 10.
Yeah, just quietly doing it. Didn't force any of it. Got to the free throw line a couple of times and made some nice, easy shots.
Carolina loses it out of bounds. It'll be Wake Forest ball.
The thing you'll notice in this game, Wake Forest can only afford to send 2 players to the offensive glass. They want 3 people back in transition, and that cuts down the number of second chance opportunities they're going to get.
Wake Forest had that nice run in the middle of the half. Now it's the Tar Heels on a 12-2 run. Visser drop step, and the foul will be called. Who'd they call it on? Not on Hansbrough. Ellington, I believe. It is.
Here's a look at no real strong double team right here. Hansborough's got him on his hip. Everybody playing a little bit of cat and mouse, digging in. And that's Ellington coming in from the back. You bail him out in that situation, Tim. He was going to have to make a tough shot.
Visser at the line ranks in the top 10 in the ACC in scoring, rebounding, block shots, field goal percentage. Outstanding season.
With Al Thornton, he's the only one who can say that in this conference. To Hansbrough.
Hansbrough go to the line.
And this is what Lawson did so well in the Duke game, breaking players down off of the dribble, getting into the paint. You see Visser has to step up to penetration, and that allows Hansbrough to get the catch. That's one of the few times that you'll see Hansbrough unable to get a shot up in that situation where he's forced to shoot free throws.
So Smith picks up his second personal. Into the ball game for Wake Forest comes Tremaine Dukes. Vineyard goes out. Terry comes in for Carolina. Hansbrough now 6 for 6 at the free throw line.
Well, you can really amp up your scoring average if you get to the line 8 or 10 times a game and you're an 80% shooter. Makes it easier to get to 20 points.
Inside to Visser. You know, Visser, I think, was looking for Hansbrough. He thought he was right on him and it slacked off.
Well, you have to finish. And Wake Forest has missed a few point-blank shots in this game, which they can all afford.
Foul on Hale. That's 3 on Hale. 25 years of ACC basketball. And has it been fun? More emotion here today. Well, it's a big day here. Carolina honoring its 1957 title team with Lenny Rosenbluth. And look at those letter sweaters. Mike Jaminski still has his from Duke that looks very similar. We'll have that entire ceremony coming up at halftime here at the Dean Dome. And 25th and 50th anniversaries. Boy, does time fly.
As I was listening to Lenny Rosenbluth in his press conference before the game, and he was talking about he can't believe it's been 50 years since all of that has transpired.
Well, here in the Dean Dome, since Wake Forest led 23-22, Carolina now on a 15-4 run.
Boy, and already a huge disparity at the free throw line. This is now the plus 11 in attempts, and they've outscored Wake by 9.
And the freshman from Waynewood, Pennsylvania, gives Carolina its largest lead. Tar Heels, man-to-man defense, but they'll trap you in a heartbeat. Very quick. Curley picks up his dribble, back to Smith. Skeen on the baseline, they double it. Lawson all the way.
You have to step up to the shot penetration of the basketball. The Wake Forest defenders were split that time, going back, and Lawson just ran right up the middle to the rim.
Lawson has stepped it up a little bit on Smith, but he still takes him to the hoop.
That was a nice move. He split the screen. Brandon Wright stepping out a little bit too far that time, and it gave Smith a lane.
Smith, look at the little guy go up and get the ball. Back to Gurley. 2 ball is blocked.
Rayshawn Terry, with his length, he can get to you in a hurry defensively.
Lawson looked at the shot.
2-3 zone that really helped Wake Forest early on.
Terry with the 3 ball.
That's one way to get rid of the zone.
Carolina has just exploded since falling behind by 1.
Rayshawn Terry getting it done on both ends of the floor, made the defensive play on one end and then hit the bomb on the other.
Wright with another rebound. Nothing like college basketball, and if you're celebrating the win, do it right. The way you celebrate says a lot about you and reflects on your school, so be responsible. Take care of yourself and your friends, and that's a message from the Anheuser-Busch. You know, you said something earlier. You said this is a team that a lot of people believe can get back to the title game. And if you look at the depth, Mike, the quickness and the shooting ability so far down that depth chart, this is a dangerous, dangerous ball club.
No question about it. And that depth serves you well, especially in a tournament format where if somebody isn't having a great day, you've got other options to go in and make up for it.
Ellington, Ginier for 2.
Not bad. I mean, that's your defensive stopper. But to be able to come in and step in, hit a medium-range jump shot is a huge bonus for your offense.
Talking about depth, that's the 7th player to score for Carolina today. A reminder, coming up next, ACC doubleheader day continues in a couple of good ones, NC State and Miami, and certainly a backyard brawl between UVA and Virginia Tech.
Well, here's a scary number, Tim. You talk about their depth. They've got 10 players who average double-figure minutes. 7 of them have a positive assist-to-turnover ratio. 5 of them shoot over 50% from the floor. So they're doing good things, making good decisions out on the floor and making shots as well.
The other thing we didn't mention, with that depth, of course, you've got a lot of fouls to give. And Stevenson now with 2 personals.
And you saw that Wake Forest so concerned with the transition, they took everybody off the line and had them back set defensively on a free throw.
A minute to play in the first half, and this crowd is ready to get to the intermission. They want to see the 1957 team and the 1982 team.
I want to see them. I'm going to hang around and watch.
Here's Stevenson with a strong move. 17-point lead for Carolina. And another turnover by the Demon Deacons. To right.
They've tried that play, Tim, with that long feed of the post into Visser, and there's just too many bodies. The longer the ball spins in the air, the more chance it's getting picked off.
Wake Forest wants to hold it for a last shot. .16 seconds left for Gurley. Throws iron.
There'll be free throws. Weaver chasing down the offensive rebound. Good hustle for him.
And Skip Prosser just shakes his head. Stevenson picks up his third. And Weaver goes to one.
See, again, now this is really unique. They just completely give up having a chance. If there's a missed free throw, you've got 4 players for Wake Forest back in defensive position already with 11.8 left on the clock.
Time loss from West Miller. Howard Hansbrough check in for Fraser, Ginyard, and Stevenson.
Now Weaver can look at it as great confidence in his free throw shooting, or saying we're giving up that putback and trying to stop some points.
My team has left me, left me on an island.
And he makes them both. Did his job.
And he's really given them nice minutes over the last few weeks.
10 seconds left. Lawson to right. Bucket. The end of the first half. The Tar Heels 51. The Demon Deacons 32. Tyler Hansbrough leading the way. And when we come back, we'll honor some legends and bring back some memories. The greatest from 57 and 82 at the Dean Dome. Stay with us.
ACC basketball is being brought to you by Toyota, by Progress Energy, by Pontiac, by Chick-fil-A, by Gatorade, by Chevrolet, and by Ruby Tuesday. Ruby Tuesday presents the Play of the Week.
Going to the right side with 6 with 5. Singletary off the dribble, off the bounce, going inside. The running jump shot, he got it with 1 second to go.
And that's our Ruby Tuesday Play of the Week.
Welcome back inside the Dean Dome. The celebration continues as the reunion in Dean Dome is something special here today with the champions of 1957 and the champions of 1982 here. Interesting first half. As a matter of fact, it was a 13-2 run. It got Wake Forest a 1-point lead at 23-22. But then the Tar Heels ended that first half on a 29-9 run, and they lead by 19. Take a look at the Bud Light scoreboard. We'll update you on some of the other scores. Tennessee over Vanderbilt, 46-27 in the second half. Auburn and Mississippi State still early in that one, tied at 14. Some of the other scores that are coming in here while we're in the Dean Dome, while the celebration continues. We'll get to you to the celebration here shortly. Georgetown celebrating 100 years at McDonough Gym. 76-58 final. They've got a big gala there tonight at Georgetown. 63-56 the final. Ohio State over Purdue. Well, this is some kind of special to be a part of this today. Tim Brandt, Mike Jaminski. Mike, you remember some of these guys, and certainly we all know the legends.
No question about it. You know, the 57 team, all the adversity, to have a perfect season, almost unparalleled. And people forget that they had 2 triple overtime games in the semifinals and the finals, so overcoming a lot there. And, of course, the 82 team, Coach Smith's first national championship after a lot of trips to the Final Four. And great players. Of course, number 23 stepping up big in that game. I had a chance to talk with Coach Smith beforehand, and very excited about this day, and he's still a very big part of this program and spends a lot of time around here.
You always think of North Carolina as being a class program, and certainly their success has been well documented. But when you look at the reception that these players have gotten and how great not only the reception by the fans, but the players seem to appreciate it so much.
Well, and I think it's important that for every institution that the players who are there now have a sense of the history of the program, and it's easy, maybe a little too easy to do with this program, but it always helps, I think, to reflect back, and I think it shows the players who are here now the legacy that they have to carry on.
Frank McGuire, New Yorker, brought down the New Yorkers to win that championship in 1957, and they beat Wilt Chamberlain to do it. We'll talk more about 57 and 82 when we come back. Halftime at the Dean Dome, 51-32 Tar Heels.
Today's Rejection of the Week is brought to you by Sonic.
Rejected! In Chapel Hill last week, Miami's Jack McClinton tried to drive the lane on North Carolina's Brandon Wright, but the Tar Heel freshman made the great block in our Sonic Rejection of the Week. Rejected!
Here's a quick look at the Toyota ACC standings. You see some surprises at the top with Boston College and Virginia, and a log jam in the middle.
Well, in a big game, Virginia Tech later on today of imports of both of those programs.
Here in the Dean Dome, the players from 1982 are watching the highlights of their season, a memorable season. And I believe I saw some tears in Michael Jordan's eyes.
For him to come back, very special. And, of course, it's the errant pass at the end, but James Worthy making that play. And seem a little older, a little heavier, but aren't we all right now? But still enjoying the moment.
They're laughing at themselves, watching the highlight. And, of course, the throwaway and the tying the knot in the national championship game. And there's the banner.
Ladies and gentlemen, the managers on that 1982 team, David Daly, Chuck Duckett, David and Ralph Meekins. The trainer was Skate, Mark Davis. Assistant coaches included Bill Guthridge, Eddie Fogler, and Roy Williams, who is in the locker room right now with his team. The only players who could not be here today, Matt Doherty, whose SMU Mustangs has a game tonight in Dallas against Rice. And Cecil Exum, who lives in Victoria, Australia. The players who are here today, Jeb Barlow. Starting point guard, Jimmy Black. Jim Braddock. John Brownlee. Chris Brust. Timo Makinen. Warren Martin. Buzz Peterson. Linwood Robinson. Dean Schaffer. Sam Perkins. Big game James Worthy. And Michael Jordan. And the best basketball coach there ever was, Dean Smith.
And with that, they're on their feet. Prior to the game, they dedicated the locker room and called it Bill Guthridge's locker room. And now the entire team being celebrated here in the Dean Smith Center. It doesn't get much better than this, folks. 1957, 1982 will be remembered here like it was yesterday. Legends and memories. We'll be back.
This moment in ACC basketball history is presented by Geico. Sunday afternoon in Durham, Florida State defeated Duke 68-67. Al Thornton scored 21 points as the Seminoles won for the first time at Cameron Indoor Stadium. Congratulations to the Florida State Seminoles for marking their moment in ACC basketball history, which has been presented by Geico.
Carolina closed the first half on a 29-9 run, and they lead here 51-32 over a feisty but very young Wake Forest team. Welcome back, everybody. Tim Brandt, Mike Jaminski, and we're joined by one of those heroes, one of those legends here at Carolina. Buzz Peterson, what a day, huh?
Oh, what a special day to see a lot of your teammates. And how about that 57 team undefeated? So, special weekend for our ball club and our university.
I was saying to Mike during the ceremonies how much the fans enjoyed it, but it looked just as much as if the players were enjoying it.
We've had a blast telling some old stories in the back there. So we got together last night, having a deal tonight I'll miss because we got a game down at High Point at 7 o'clock I have to get to, but just reminiscing and catching up with some old stories.
Buzz, when you guys were playing and getting in, starting that March in '82, were you aware of the 57 team and what they had accomplished and all those guys in the history?
Yeah, we were aware of it, but I wasn't aware until Jimmy Black would have a lot of meetings about some of the pressure that was on Coach Smith a little bit, because he kept saying, let's win it for Coach, let's win it for Coach, and we were determined to win it for him, and just by James Worthy's playing the championship down in New Orleans, he was unbelievable.
Well, Buzz, congratulations to you. Always fun to watch you play.
Very much,
good luck the rest of the day.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be back. There's Michael Jordan's roommate saying so long. We'll be back.
ACC basketball is brought to you by RBC Centura, by your Carolina Chrysler dealers, by Sonic Drive-Ins, by Charles Schwab, by Q Motor Oil, and by Red Lobster.
Now we're set for the second half. They've got the teams out. The celebration now has somewhat subsided as the players now go back to their seats. Mike, take a look at the halftime stats.
Big points in the paint, a big advantage for North Carolina, big advantage to the free throw line, shooting 51%. We know this team is a very, very powerful offensive team.
And there's that 29-9 run and the half by the Tar Heels. Underway now in the second half. And Wake Forest has it first.
Well, the fact that they have assisted on 13 of 17 field goals and only 5 turnovers, that is tremendous efficiency for North Carolina in the offensive set.
I still have goosebumps from halftime. I got to settle back in here. Steen draws iron. Lawson will pull it down and they'll run. Kicks it to the corner. Terry for 3. Terry now has 10 points.
Just simple basketball. Make a play, find an open player, and let him make a shot.
Knocked away by Terry, and I believe they called a foul on Williams.
I think Terry's going to get the foul.
It is on Terry, correct.
But the thing he can't do in that time that Smith picked his dribble up, and that's just death against North Carolina. Got to keep a live dribble until you've got somebody to pass it to.
Demon Deacons had a tough time shooting the ball, as you saw in the halftime stats. And they really need to heat up here to get back in this thing. Inside to Visser and the push from behind by Hansbrough. Well, Williams came in and scored 7 points in 10 minutes. Hale got off to an early start, got into a little foul trouble, and Visser, every time he touches it, Mike, they doubled down on him.
When you look at it, that Williams and Smith are the only 2 players for Wake Forest shooting over 50% individually right now. Visser having a tough time at 1 and 6.
Hansbrough with those quiet 12 points, and here's Visser. Foul is on Hansbrough.
He's going to get 2 free throws as a result of that. Bernard Clinton saying he's in the act of shooting.
So Visser, a 64% free throw shooter, pinches that one and draws iron.
And it is disconcerting. We talked about the fact Wake Forest has pulled everybody off the line and is back in defensive transition. You're used to seeing a few friendly bodies up there in a more crowded free throw line.
Visser now 3 of 6 at the line today. Williams throws it away, and so he might be inconsistent, but it is fun to watch Ish Smith play. He's the quickest guy in the ACC.
Want to see he and
Williams go at it. Great pass inside and a big finish. LD Williams now.
And he's got some highlight dunks in his repertoire, and he just kind of hit along the baseline, and the defense in the back line fell asleep.
He averages 8 points a game. He has 9 today. Ellington with a nice reverse dribble. Bucket will count. Foul out front and 1. And he has double figures at 10 points.
And that was a tough play because Ellington looked a little off balance that time. Got his feet tangled up, but was still able to finish the play. Can't give baseline up. Harvey Hale doing that, and defense just can't get there in time to help.
So Skeen picks up his 3rd personal. And Ellington playing like the Duke today. Smith looks at the shot clock, still at 12. Now under 10. And a travel. So that is now 8 turnovers for the Demon Deacons.
A nice job by Danny Green, just sliding his feet. Williams tried to turn the corner that time, but there was no lane. Sound defense.
It's gotten quiet in here after the halftime celebration. I think everybody wore themselves out. Plus, they feel very confident that the Tar Heels have a lead they won't relinquish. Here's Terry with the rebound and the foul. So Terry will go to the line.
You know, it's interesting talking to people around here today that saying this is one of the toughest tickets that there has been in recent memory in this building. I mean, no disrespect to Wake Forest, but that halftime show, I think, was worth the price of admission.
Yeah, I agree. Michael is taking his jacket off now, starting to relax, getting ready for the big gala tonight. Terry hits the free throw.
What is it? What's that? Yeah, where's the fish? Oh.
And he hits them both. I think it's ironic. They've got the big gala here tonight, celebrating the two teams, 57 and 82. And Georgetown, the team 82 beat for the national title. They're celebrating 100 years of Georgetown basketball with a huge gala up in Washington, D.C. tonight. Wright with a nice layback pass, the give and go, and Wright finishes. .16 to play. The fans are back on their feet. 61 to 35. Wow. Talked a lot about that road to the championship in 1982. A lot of people forget they almost didn't get out of that first game. James Madison, 52-50 was the final, and then, of course, the closest game of them all, the national championship game, 63-62, and the throwaway.
And right now you talk about the 100 years, and Michael Jordan right there hitting the shot at the end of the game to give him that winning margin. John Thompson's son carrying on his legacy up at Georgetown and has that program back in the national spotlight.
Got a nice win today over Marquette. He was concerned about JT3, that they'd be all wrapped up in the 100 years celebration and the big gala tonight and forget about their game, but they won it this afternoon.
That's a big win. Georgetown battling Pitt and Marquette at the top of that conference.
I'll tell you what, that's 7 wins in a row for Georgetown, and it looks like a team you would not want to play tournament time.
Yeah, very good defensively. That Princeton-style offense can make you look bad.
And Roy Hibbert, the big guy, has really grown up. Here's Visser.
And that's, I think he probably takes Ish Smith out to lunch every once in a while because he created those 2 points for him on his own.
Right to Terry, and the foul on Visser. Take a look at our principal financial scores of other games. And Tennessee big over Vanderbilt in the second half. A little bit of a surprise there. Auburn and Mississippi State.
And that's a number 23 Vanderbilt team that Wake Forest beat at home earlier this year. And there's that Georgetown score. Ohio State, one of the best teams in the nation. And how about that? West Virginia up over number 2 UCLA. That game up in Morganton.
That's another team I wouldn't want to play in a tournament. UCLA, they are some kind of good. Here's Visser with the nice little bank in.
Yeah, Darren Collison has come in and done a fine job for them at point.
Smith, how about that move?
And that's tough because you get him going left and you think, all right, I've got him under control.
And Lawson throws it away. Timeout on the floor. We'll take one as well. What a day this has been and continues to be at the Dean Dome. Lenny Rosenbluth in 1957 was the National Player of the Year. The Tar Heels win 32-0. And Lenny is one of only 7 to have his jersey retired in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. ACC champions, national champions, and we are now joined by Lenny. Lenny, what a great day this has been, huh?
This has been tremendous. Can you imagine 50 years ago we won and the crowd reacts this way? I think only at UNC basketball and the entire basketball family as it represents is so great.
Lenny, I want to ask you this. When Frank McGuire said, hey, come on, we're going to school down in North Carolina from New York, what'd you say?
I was following Coach McGuire no matter where he went. If he went to Alaska, I would have gone with him to Alaska. He's just that kind of a man.
Does it seem like yesterday for you?
When we get together and we start talking about the games, it seems like yesterday we playing the game against Kansas.
What were your memories of Wilt Chamberlain and that game against Kansas?
Well, everybody's memory, I guess, is Tommy Kearns jumping center against Wilt. Wilt looking down and wondering what in the world is going on. But the Kansas game, Coach McGuire went right down the row with us. Are you afraid of Chamberlain? Are you afraid of Chamberlain? No, Coach, we're not afraid of Chamberlain. They just said, basically, that Kansas cannot beat us, but Chamberlain can. So we just surrounded Chamberlain. And years later, Wilt had a chance to talk to Wilt, and Wilt said, you know, I felt like I was in the covered wagon and the Indians were circling me all the time. That's what we did against Wilt.
Len, I'm just curious, your impressions of this year's North Carolina team and what their chances are of maybe getting remembered 25 years from now.
Well, I tell you, they're so deep. If they ever put a whole game together like they do the Spurs, and they'll run away from teams. They just tire out the other teams. They're so talented, such a group of players, and they share the ball so well. And now Coach Williams has them playing great defense, and it's just a question of putting a whole game together when they get into the ACC championships and the NCAA. If they do that, they're unbeatable.
Well, Lenny Rosenbluth, it is always a pleasure to sit and talk with you, to look at the highlights of when you played that great championship, and to see you honored here today. Congratulations.
I do thank you for remembering. It's great.
One of the greatest of all time in this league, the Atlantic Coast Conference. Lenny, thank you. And here at the Dean Dome, Carolina way out in front, 71-43, and just making it a show for all the alumni to enjoy. And another turnover, and Carolina gets it right back. How fun is this, Mike, talking to guys like Lenny and Buzz and MJ? It's a great afternoon. This broadcast, by the way, is a copyrighted presentation. Any use of it without the express permission of Raycom Lincoln Financial Sports, and the ACC is prohibited. 25 years of covering the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Here we go, Tar Heels, here we go. Here we go, Tar Heels, here we go.
14:40 to play between North Carolina and Wake Forest. And Wake Forest took the lead at 23-22, and then North Carolina closed the half on a 29-9 run, and they haven't looked back since. Here's Ginyard with a reverse layup, and they'll go to the line for one more.
He's just so active, and they've got some good offensive rebounders on the floor. And Tim, you know, there are teams that, you know, it might be able to take the air out and kind of close things down toward the end of the game. Nice anticipation on the weak side by Ginyard, but this group, their second team could probably be ranked in the top 25. When they come in and they get some playing time, they want to get out and run up and down too. So it's very tough for Roy Williams to call his team off. And
well, that's a good point, and as hard as it is for Skip Prosser, I mean, they've got to get ready for tournament time. You talked about their depth. They want these guys ready, every single one of them, because they might need them. Junior takes it himself. Drum ahead to Williams. Legal block, still alive. Weaver can't finish. And Ginyard loses it out of bounds. Now, was that a wild foray?
Well, that's what you see right there. The pace of play didn't allow Weaver to get that dunk. He didn't have any legs at the end of that transition up and down. But how about Danny Green, one of the best shot blockers in the team last year, coming in. Great play to follow up. And then almost get the turnover out of it. But as I tell you what, Kyle Visser gave up some body diving and getting the play back.
Carolina with 5 blocks on the afternoon. Here's Visser with a bank in.
Well, and they haven't double-teamed him much in this game. He recognized that. If you see that not happening, make a quick hitter to the rim.
Hand throw, turn around, short. Visser now in double figures, but he comes up. He's got knocked in the nose there. He's holding his nose. Drum. Yes.
Nice shot by Michael Drum. It's about it. What you want defensively is to contest jump shots, and Ginyard did on that play.
Back outside to Terry.
And that's where the class is, the skip pass against the zone.
There's it for 3. His first bucket of the game.
That's where the open man is, Tim. He did a nice job running the baseline, and from the high post, Hansbrough able to pick him off.
Bobby Frazier, the sophomore from Blue Island, Illinois. Ginyard almost had to pick.
Opportunity missed. He was shaking his head after that.
Visser with the turnaround, too strong. Terry with the rebound and the outlet. Frazier to Ginyard to Terry for 3. Yes! He has 21 points.
And the shot is there in the secondary break for North Carolina with the trailer.
Timeout, Wake Forest. This place is rocking. Timeout on the floor. If the teams discuss strategy, you should too. Get someone to talk with you, not at you. Talk to Chuck. Charles Schwab. Here's Skip Prosser. What are you talking about, Mike?
Well, you talk about finishing the game. You talk about playing in 4-minute increments, I think, and just trying to get some positive possessions through this last 12 minutes and 6 seconds of the ball game. You're down 23, 33 actually, and it's going to be tough for you to climb back into it, frankly.
And how about at the other end with Roy Williams?
Keep doing what you're doing. I mean, you go out and you've got 80 points on the board, and there's still plenty of time. This game could be headed toward 110 plus. And the nice thing is that there's good balanced scoring. You've got 4 players in double figures for North Carolina. The starters, Ty Lawson with 7, and then you've got 7 players who have an assist. Lawson and Ellington with 5 apiece.
And Wright with 4. Terrific afternoon for Carolina. They started celebrating early today, and it has not stopped. 12:06 to play. Tough assignment for Wake Forest to come in here on such an emotional day. Anybody could have come in here today and been ambushed. But they're still playing hard.
Well, now you got 3-2 guards basically out on the perimeter for Wake Forest. Frost are trying to find some offense. The Gurley, Drum, and Hale.
Drum splits the double. Here they come again. Right out to Frazier, behind the arc. This time Frazier penetrates and gives it back to Wright. Returns the favor.
Yeah, inside-out basketball, and you're crazy you missed the shot. You don't want to tee it up a second time, hit the lane, and make something happen for somebody else.
Wright handles like a guard and then throws it away. Too tall for Marcus Ginyard. We'll be back. Here's a look at our Jeep game summary, and it looks like this. One-sided at best.
Yeah, that'll get you a 35-point lead most times.
Look at the free throws. Wow. James Worthy in the house, celebrating the day with his teammates.
And back home, native of Gastonia, North Carolina.
Just about 11 minutes to play in this ball game. Shot clock at 15. This is Gurley with the jumper. Frazier to Wright to Miller for three. Splash.
Now, Wes Miller really struggled with his shot early in the year, but he was a big factor in the Duke game, especially on the defensive end of the floor. Was on the floor when they made their comeback in the second half.
Miller, the senior out of Charlotte, North Carolina, acts like a senior.
One of only two players from North Carolina on this North Carolina roster.
Frazier on the break, loses it. Skeen for three. He's a nice-looking player.
Yeah, we talked about the inside-outside ability, Jamie Skeen. You have to respect him. 41% from behind the arc. Didn't take a ton of shots, but can make them.
As a freshman, he'll get more consistent the more he plays. We were talking about UCLA and West Virginia. How about this?
John Beilein, one of the best coaches in America that people don't know about.
I've got to tell you, I heard about this game all week in my house. I've got a son who went to UCLA and played football there. I've got a daughter at West Virginia that went to the game today. And all week I was listening to it in our house. And she got the last word.
Well, I'm sure that last word won't be for a while either.
You're right. And again, a lot of changes made. Miller goes out. 22 straight free throws by Hansbrough. He was 6 for 6 the other night after intermission, which was a big factor in that game against Duke. He's money, 14 points. Shot clock at 15.
Right, look at Lawson just keep the ball away from Ishmael Smith.
Great job by Lawson. Shot clock at 5. Hale's got to go.
And that's what happens at the end. That's Skeen coming from out of bounds. They get an offensive rebound that time. But because you keep the ball out of Smith's hands, it makes other people make plays at the end of the clock. And for Smith, somehow you've got to shed Ty Lawson and get the basketball. That's your job, and you have to find a way, whether it's using your foot speed or positioning, whatever. You've got to be a receiver.
Brayshawn Terry called for the foul. You saw his reaction. He thought he had a good block, but the bottom line is that's his 4th personal foul. Skeen at the line. Skeen now has 8 points. He only averages 7. But he's getting recognition throughout the ACC as one of the freshmen to watch. Makes them both. Pass to Hansbrough. Goes around Visser with a jump stop. The bucket will count and go to the line. Talked about it earlier. He is a blue-collar worker down around that bucket and usually finishes.
Well, I think you can't allow multiple dribbles down there for a player like Hansbrough. You see, he keeps the dribble alive. Nobody digging in to help, and it's just too much for Visser to overcome. You get a live dribble. If he gets 4 or 5 bounces in the lane, he's tough to handle for anybody.
And there's the first miss seemingly in forever for Hansbrough. Terry was pulled down and gets up limping.
Kyle Visser, I think, fouling out of the game on that play.
Pulled his jersey. So that's 5 DQ, and Visser now will sit down. 11 points.
But I mean, I think that's the recipe against Wake Forest, and this is what has happened in league play, that you really try to concentrate on Visser, deny the looks and the things that he can do in the post, and make other people step up and make plays.
He talked about how improved he is and how frustrating it must be for him, really, to play this year. Well, it's such a young ball club that's just learning.
But that's the sign of respect. You know, Skip Prosser has asked a lot of him as a senior to be a leader on this team and to step up and play. And with his improved play, you move up the scouting report, and he's right at the top of it for Wake Forest right now. So he's gonna be the focal point of everybody the rest of this year, and it's tough to make that adjustment. You have to improve just to stay even.
Terry came down hard on his derriere. He keeps holding his left cheek. He hit hard. There it is again. He's reaching back there. Wants to make sure he's still got a pocket. Then he rolls it in. They're going to get him out. He's limping a little bit. So Rashawn Terry goes out. Take a look at our Q Motorola Power 25. We've seen the ACC teams here dwindle. But North Carolina still 5th and Duke 16th.
And how about this then? When was the last time the 2 first-place teams in the conference were not even in the top 25? You're right. Virginia and Boston College.
Well, after the ACC won the Big Ten Challenge again, top 25 was loaded with conference teams. It's down to 2. Here's Gurley for 3. Yes.
Nice look at that. One of the few open looks he's gotten. He used the screen well and got his feet underneath him.
Ty Lawson's about to lose his drawers. Looking for Smith. And Gurley will take it on the baseline to split the double team and bank it in.
With good body control that time. Stevenson a little late coming over in transition.
How about Thompson, the big guy, running?
And see, that's what North Carolina does, though. You score a basket, you go into a home run trot, and they run it right up your back with one of their bigs, too. How can you beat everybody down the floor if you're Wake Forest?
This way.
And a foul against Wake Forest. And a foul will be on Kevin Swinton. That's 2. Reminder coming up next, North Carolina State at Miami or UVA at Virginia Tech. Tough game for Virginia to go down to Castle, and that's a talented Hokie team.
But they're coming off a road win against Maryland, and they are the hottest team in the league with 7 straight wins.
Well, J.R. Reynolds and Sean Singletary playing so well. 7:55 to play. We'll be back. Well, we've got it all going on here today. All the coaches with their nice suits, but they're wearing the sneakers. Coaches for cancer today, and coaches across the country are wearing their sneakers as a way to bring attention to that dreadful disease, cancer. Of course, in this conference, it hit close to home with Jimmy Valvano.
And Kay Yao in a battle herself.
What a battler she is.
Yep.
93-57. If you're just joining us, Wake Forest led 23-22. North Carolina closed out the first half on a 29-9 run, and they haven't looked back. 93-57. This is Thomas. Nice pass down low to Thompson, and he has it knocked out of bounds.
Deion Thompson just in a little bit of a hurry that time, bobbled it, and that allowed Smith to come in and get the deflection.
Carolina's had a chance to get so many of their guys into the game with quality minutes today. And as we head toward tournament time, that is very important. Carolina 21-3, 7-2 in the conference, trying to get their 8th win, and certainly eyeing one of those buys in the first day of the ACC tournament. Green shot too strong, and he stepped on the line. So Thompson can't save it.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt that North Carolina is going to be in that group of 4 that get that bye. So I think it's going to be Virginia is starting to solidify their position. Boston College as well, who's really done a great job of kind of keeping things together with the loss of Sean Williams.
See a guy like Stevenson get into the ball game and try to make that save, stepped on the line, and Wake Forest has an opportunity here. And there's Stevenson hustling at the other end. Thomas is fouled by Smith. Well, join the Mania, ACC fans. You can win up to $100,000 plus hundreds of other great prizes. To enter Alltel's My Circle Mania sweepstakes, text HOOPS to 84353 or visit mycirclemania.com.
And Thomas this year, one of the things that he struggled with in his first couple of years was decision making. Didn't have that great of an assist to turnover ratio, but over 2-to-1 right now, which is excellent for a point guard. And he was a big part of them being able to survive Bobby Fraser being out for a few games with his foot injury. That's the deepest position this team has as a point guard.
So this is Thomas at the line. Nice rotation. Crowd now does want that century mark.
There you go.
6:35 to play. 20 on the shot clock for Smith. Swinton gets the roll. Well, you never want to be in the cellar of the ACC when that tournament starts. And it looks like Wake Forest is heading that direction.
Yeah, tough year for the Dukes, tough year for Miami.
Gurley on the baseline. Stanley battles inside, and he walks. Saw Bobby Cremins here at the game earlier. There was a JV game before this. Carolina JV was playing Fork Union. Bobby Cremins, coach down at College of Charleston, was here recruiting.
So he's recruiting a kid out of Fork Union, and he's got a big game over in Greensboro against UNCG later on this afternoon at 4 o'clock.
Bobby Cremins, 16-8. Doing a pretty good job over there. Good to see him back in coaching, our colleague here after he left Georgia Tech.
He loves, he said, he loves waking up every morning. The challenge of going out and working with the team, making them improve. Tough act to follow down there. One coach removed from John Kress, who had been there forever and was very, very successful.
That's a 3. That'll help by Anthony Gurley. Gurley now with 9 points. Miller. And Stevenson has it blocked out of bounds. Crowd wanted Miller to drain that 3 to get to 100. Miller looks inside. Stevenson goes inside. And Thompson can't get it to go down. Still battling. Thompson again.
Referee's letting a lot go inside. A little physical play here down the stretch.
Four and a half to play. down to 8. Not going to get one off. Copeland now comes in. Thompson goes out as Roy Williams continues to go down his bench. Looking over on that Carolina bench as Ginyard takes a shot for 2. I think only 3 players have yet to get in the ball game. Gurley is fouled with 3:52 to play. Well, it's a day of celebration here at the Dean Dome. 25 years of covering the Atlantic Coast Conference. That's our celebration. And we'll be back with more after this.
Of excellence, then, now, and always.
Road to the championship in 1957 went like this, and as Mike Jaminski mentioned, 2 games, triple overtime to win it all, Michigan State and Kansas. We had Lenny Rosenbluth here just a little while ago, says he remembers it like it was yesterday, Mike.
Well, and actually, Dean Smith was at that Final Four as a spectator because he had coached the Kansas freshmen and wanted to come up. Dick Harp was his. There's Lenny Rosenbluth on the camera right now. And so he was really cheering for Kansas in that game, and then had a meeting with Coach McGuire the next day, and that planted the seed for him coming back to North Carolina as an assistant.
It's great to see Michael Jordan put his arm around Dean today and give him a little kiss on the head. 3:35 to play in this ball game here, which is thought most of this game without any doubt of the outcome. Ginyard beyond the arc. Ginyard again, kicks it out to Miller for 3. 100. 7th time this year, Carolina has 100 or more points in a game. They just continue to roll, don't they? 12 players have now scored for Carolina.
That's what I say, Tim. You know, just to get the opportunity, especially these guys at the end who don't get a lot of playing time, and they want to make their presence known in the scorebook.
Foul on Copeland. So Mike Copeland, the sophomore from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, picks up a personal. His first.
Kevin Swinton had his best game of the year earlier against North Carolina State when the Wolfpack went to Winston-Salem, got a victory. He had 16 points in that game, 7 of 9 from the field.
Wood comes in, Ginyard goes out for Carolina. Marcus Ginyard out of O'Connell High School in Arlington, Virginia. Continue to clear the bench. What a day this has been for the Tar Heels of North Carolina. He's having fun, isn't he?
I love Seth Greenberg's comment from the beginning of the year when you see they talk about, do you like your team? He said, I like my team. Coach Mike Krzyzewski likes his team, and Roy loves both of his teams.
They're going to be dangerous. It'll make the tournament a lot of fun this year, the ACC tournament. And we've got Boston College, Virginia. They're playing very well. Carolina's right there. They're about to go to 8-2. We talked about the log jam in the middle. There's some dangerous teams in that middle, Mike, that really have lost their stride but are capable of getting it back.
Florida State right in that mix. Virginia Tech. That's why today's game is so big. They've lost 2 in a row coming in, but they sit 6-3.
Of course, the Blue Devils, as Gurley takes a 3. Blue Devils going up to College Park in Maryland early in the year. Beat St. John's, Michigan State, went out to Illinois, stopped their 51-game home winning streak, looked like a contender, and all of a sudden they have stumbled a little bit, but they're capable.
No question. That's I think there's a big sense of urgency. Both of those teams at the bottom there. See a 5 o'clock game, Duke at Maryland. But Maryland really in need of a win because they've had some home losses. Duke 3 home losses already this year. Florida State, they can't go into a coast mode either. I mean, they've got a good resume with wins against Florida and on the road against Duke, but still some work to do there.
Maryland had a chance against Virginia the other night in the Comcast Center, and Eric Hayes, the freshman, turned, squared up for the 3, and drew iron, and that was the end of that ball game, and Virginia came away with a sweep of their series this year. Minute 20 to play. It's amazing to me, Mike, this game out of reach for so long, and yet everybody's in their seats. Everybody's sticking around. Just enjoying an ACC Saturday. Coming up, North Carolina State at Miami and UVA at Virginia Tech.
You talk about the job that Sidney Lowe has done this year. Really, the one thing he hasn't had to worry about is players griping about minutes. He's got plenty of he got guys 4 in the top 10 in minutes played on the year. Still at 3-6, like they go down there and win. They're within shouting distance of 500 in the conference, which I don't think anybody predicted.
No, and that's big.
But Ben McCauley is having a fine year this year. Brandon Costner is having a very good year. Courtney Fell's starting to play well. And Engen Atsu are a big part of their mix, and he's starting now to get healthy.
Burke made one of his, so another Carolina Tar Heel in the box score.
1 minute.
And the foul stops the clock with 50.5 seconds left.
I'm interested too, Tim, in the venue down in Tampa. I've heard great things about it. It'd be interesting to take the ACC tournament down there for the first time.
I've just got this feeling it is going to be a wild tournament. And some teams obviously are going to have to win that tournament to get to the NCAA. Copeland at the line for his second. Copeland is another one of those young players, 6'7", 225-pound sophomore out of Winston-Salem. So this game a little bit special for him. Last 42 seconds.
Yes, sir.
Knocked out of bounds by Casey Crawford, and so Carolina will try to melt off the last 34 seconds. Or will they?
Or they'll try to score.
Hey, you're a young guy. Can't blame it. Or a guy that sits at the end of that bench, even if you're not young and don't get many minutes. You want to get in that box score and see what you can do.
How about this? The Carolina bench giving a standing ovation to the 2 national championship teams.
They stand, they salute, they point to where the 2 championship teams are. And point up there. Look at Roy Williams leading them. Point up and saying thanks for setting the tradition that we have here in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. The end of the ball game. North Carolina 104 and Wake Forest 67. Your thoughts, Mike?
Well, just
we'll be back with more of the celebration from the Dean Dome in Chapel Hill right after this.